Good morning. I'm John Shafley from FIPP, and welcome again to the Kenton Theatre here in Henley-on-Thames in the south of England. And we are day 3, week 4, I believe, and this is our 57th session, still with 30 to go. And this session today focuses once again on customer acquisition, how Funke Media Group's new subscription strategy helps finance local journalism. But before we get into that, I just want to do some housekeeping and remind you all, please do ask questions. Please be interactive. It's a unique opportunity to ask our guests anything you like, and also you can interact with each other. If you look at the bottom of your screen, you'll see the chat box and you'll see the Q&A. So please do that, and we'll be coming back from the presentation to me, and I'll be asking those questions later on. Also, the virtual exhibition is now open, a little bit late, but it is now open, and you can view this from the timeline. If you go back to the timeline, and in there you'll find details of all our exhibitors and all our sponsors and partners. There is some video there, some great content there. You can arrange to make meetings. You can invite them to different events, and so please do go and have a look. So for this session, we welcome Clemens Hammacher, and I apologize for the pronunciation, who is General Manager at Piano in Germany. Piano is an end-to-end customer experience platform helping media brands and companies acquire audiences, engage users, and monetize content. And we also welcome Stephan Thurm, once again, apologies for the terrible pronunciation, I'm sure, who is Chief Digital Officer of Funke Media Group and CEO of Funke Digital. Welcome, Clemens, and welcome, Stephan. And apologies again for my awful pronunciations.
Thanks, John. That's perfectly fine. Yeah, welcome to our session with Funke. And the way we do it is first I introduce Piano a little bit. I start sharing my screen in a minute. Then we go over to Stephan, who has prepared a lot of very, very interesting slides, and we do that via an interview. And if you have any questions, just please dig in and start asking. So we go to the screen share. So today's title is, as John said, how Funke Media Group, a new subscription strategy, helps financing local journalism. And I'm joined by Stephan Thurm. My name's Clemens Hammacher. I'm the General Manager DACH by Piano. And what basically, quick words about Piano for those who don't know us. What we do is we basically accelerate our clients' ability to understand first their audience, then to help them engage with their audience. And of course, the main aim is to monetize the digital customers, be it with subscriptions, with donations, which we done for an Austrian paper, or with digital advertising. And basically, we look at 4 different critical curves to achieve this. Main one is, of course, subscription, and the first part is acquisition, but also retention and to prevent churn, which we dig into with Stephan a little bit later. One of the means we do that is by personalization, by really segmenting and targeting the audience and giving them the right message at the right time. And you can only do that, of course, if you have a lot of analytics and the right data to move on that. What we also do is we take care of advertising and marketing with first-party data, which becomes more and more important, of course, in the coming year with the death of the third cookie and contextual. We do have a lot of customers, and by having a lot of customers, of course, we do have tons of data. So in a month, we have about 34 billion page views, and we have about 1.6 million active subscriptions. And also, I mean, if you look at the DMP lookalikes, it would be like 1.9 billion in a day. So basically, that gives us a lot of anonymous data, and we can pull a lot of insights from it. So we have a lot of benchmark data, and we can always have a lot of best practices from our different customers. Piano runs over approximately 6,000 websites. Some very large one of them are the Wall Street Journal, Styria, Business Insider, Economist, or Le Parisien, but we also have a lot of smaller customers who use our software. And the guiding principle for us is, of course, always the customer journey. There are, of course, different ways to look at a customer journey. That's our view. And basically, the way to look at it is at the top, you have the user segments, so the new, active, proposed, known, customer, and loyal. And at the bottom, we always have the next best action. So basically the action we like the customers to take. And our software and strategic services provide basically the means to give the right message to the right customer at the right time. Of course, those steps are not necessarily mutually exclusive. So for example, you have some visitors who go straight from new to customer, but it's super helpful to look at it this way. And that's something we dig into a little bit later as well. We do run a Piano Academy, for those of you who haven't heard yet. That's a 6-part course about digital subscriptions. The first course was last week. The second course is tomorrow. It's about 4 p.m. tomorrow, what brands can learn from publishers about monetization. It's cost-free, and by doing that, we also have a complete guidebook. So how to build a successful subscription business. So now I get into the interview with Stephan. Stephan, thanks a lot for joining us today and giving us a lot of insight about Funke's subscription business. Before we start, the title of our session, Stephan, is Financing Local Journalism. And when we had a chat before the interview, you said that's kind of a motto for you at Funke. Can you give us a little bit more background about that?
Yes, of course. Thank you for having me, Clemens. Glad to be here and talk about local journalism, which is the heart of our company, of Funke. That was where the company was founded in North Rhine-Westphalia in Germany. And these assets, these newspapers that we founded there, you see the founder here on the wall in my back, here at the Funke, Jakob Funke community in Berlin. And they founded newspapers in North Rhine-Westphalia. So local newspapers is kind of the DNA of our company. And as you can see here in an overview about our business, we have actually 3 columns of business. One is on the upper left, the newspapers. We have 12 regional newspaper titles with about 1 million sold copies. But we also have a second column that came later in the company history. We have about 60 magazines in our group that are very successful. It's a very stable, successful business. And on the lower half, you see our digital business. We have about half a billion page impressions per month with our group. We have 1 billion social video views per month. And we also started to build not only our publishing digital business in the last years. Funke Digital is only 6 years old now. And we started here in Berlin also investing in companies. And we bought a portfolio of digital companies to round up our investments. So this is the business of Funke, but the heart of the company is local journalism, I would say, local newspapers or regional newspapers. We think it's an important role in society that we have. We also think it's a viable business still. We think it will be long viable business because we add value to the lives of people in our regions. And so we try to find a business model that is sustainable also in the next years. Of course, newspapers are bleeding all over the world, but we try to create a new foundation of our business with digital. So the reason why we take care about subscriptions and digital subscriptions and also work with Piano is that currently we still focus very much on digital advertising, but subscriptions is, as we measured, about 11 times more viable or interesting for us than advertising if it comes to earning money. So this is how we think that the business will be. We invest in subscriptions, we invest in digital, and we want to stay in local German journalism.
Thanks, Stephan. And recently you've been very successful with digital subscriptions. It was all over the industry news in Germany, and especially with your regional titles in North Rhine-Westphalia, which for those of you who are not from Germany is the biggest federal state in Germany with about 16 million inhabitants. There was a major strategic shift happening behind the scenes at Funke. Can you tell us something about that?
Yeah, actually, the focus on subscriptions came only in 2018 after we traveled to Oslo, to Scandinavia with Inma. And there was a very impressive tour through Scandinavia, and we were flashed by the experience of seeing other newspapers in Scandinavia building a viable subscription business for digital. Before that, we were not sure if we really can build a strong business just out of our web publications or our apps. And but 2 years before, 2016 was the foundation of this strategy, as we split the publications in two product lines. One, before we only had one product line, our digital editions of our newspapers, and that we tried to where we tried to increase traffic and tried to get as much advertising as possible, and it was all free. And then we started to take these, we call it brand portals, the newspaper portals, and separated them and built a subscriptions business for that. And we introduced a second product line, we call it reach portals, with new brands mostly. And these reach portals had the only target to get reach and finance through advertising. So we had two product lines focusing, one focusing on subscriptions and quality and newspaper business and local content. And the other one is local reach portals that are for young readers. They are cheap, cheap in a sense that it's free. And so we had these two product lines, which were important to focus on subscriptions with our newspapers. So that was the foundation. 2016, the split of the product lines, and 2018, the visit to Scandinavia. That was the foundation of the strategy.
And you evolved your strategy a bit over the years. I mean, if you look at the timeline here, we see where you launched the paywall basically, and especially, and that again was all over the industry news, you introduced a project called NRW 150 and NRW Engage. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, of course, we started really freshly with Piano as our partner, our technology partner in 2018, with Hamburger Abendblatt, one of our flagship brands in Germany. And first we just copied the Scandinavian model and as good as we could. And so we had quite some success from the beginning, just copying these things. And then we rolled out the model to our other publications and launched other paywalls for the newspaper. And then we found out, I mean, we are a newspaper group or a media group. Then we found out that with our organization, to do everything with all newspapers together at the same time is very hard, because everyone has different ideas and wishes. So it was slowing us down. So we started the project NRW 150, which was choosing one of the newspapers, one of our flagship brands in North Rhine-Westphalia, and setting up a project with these guys with a different organization. So we built a squad, a team of technologists or technology employees and of our salespeople and the editorial. And in this squad, we were very quick in implementing new ideas, testing things, and we got along very quickly. And then from this pilot, as we say, we then made a rollout strategy for the others. So that's always NRW 150 is always our pilot. We try new things, we invent things. It's a very small, very condensed team. And from this, we roll out the ideas. It's called 150 because the first goal was to reach 150 subscriptions every day for the application.
Thanks.
Cool. And we reached this goal.
That's great. That's great. And then it was followed up by NRB or NRW Engage. That was a follow-up project, or?
Yeah, of course, we found out, as everyone else, I guess, that we have a bucket and we bring in a lot of subscribers, new subscribers, and the bucket has a huge hole and we lose a lot of subscribers again. So to prevent churn and to increase engagement, we started this second project, which meant we wanted to increase engagement of our readers. And the theory is that if you increase engagement, you reduce churn, and that works, of course, as many others have experienced, I think.
Okay, thanks. We come back to that later on. Let's move on to the positive effects your strategy had. Which titles did you see the highest growth, and what do they have in common?
Yeah, as you can see here, we had quite a good growth, especially, I mean, part of the growth is adding new titles. And apart from that, we got some acceleration with the NRW 150 project, and that meant having more focus on these topics and having a smaller squad that was quick to implement things. And so that was one point to accelerate in these titles, but the other titles also accelerated growth with a bit of a lag, because you always have to roll out new ideas to the others, which does not work from one day to the other. But it's a very successful strategy, because but I think we talk about organization later, but it was a very successful strategy for us to have this speedboat in NRW, in North Rhine-Westphalia, and the others follow a bit with a distance, but we try to speed them up as well as soon as possible. And of course, there was a huge acceleration through the Corona effect that probably everyone had in the industry, I guess. And currently, we have also lost customers after this Corona peak, as many others, I guess. But we also have a bit of a saturation in some areas. We see a slowing growth a bit, and we are working on that with new ideas.
And apart from this speedboat, North Rhine-Westphalia or North Rhine-Westphalia, were there any other key factors in your opinion that led to the success?
Well, of course, you need a good technology, a stable technology. I think we also challenged Piano to be our partner, and we have a very good partnership over the years. What we really like about the technology we have is that it's very flexible. You see, we started from scratch, from scratch. So in the beginning, it's very important to learn, and you need a flexible technology where you can try things very easily. If you can test things, and that was possible with the setup we found with Piano and with our technology. So I think that's key. The other key is really have a small team, a squad of editorial, technology, and salespeople, subscription people, together in one squad, working very closely together with daily stand-ups. That works very well if you put it as close as that together. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. And as we touched on before, I mean, where there's growth, there's also churn, of course. So during all the changes you made to your subscription program, how has churn developed and what works best for limiting churn?
Well, we are not happy with churn rates yet, of course, but we understand better how it works or what are the factors. What we did is, of course, we have a very strong data platform. I forgot to mention that before. That's, of course, the basis of all we do. This data platform gave us a lot of insights how people behave and why they churn. But we also did deep interviews. We talked to many people. We did focus groups. We ask every person who leaves his subscription or cancels his subscription why he did, and we found out very interesting things. Then that led to some measures we introduced later. What we also did is to try to win back people who canceled the subscription, which is also very successful. And we found out some tricks that others also found out through testing, I guess, like don't use free trial. It's much worse than other ideas. But after all, we look at the data and try to make our next steps based on data.
And you're obviously making great progress. If you can see
one of the big steps that we just introduced this year is a yearly subscription. Before we did not think this is there's really a good chance to sell this, but it was very, very successful. And of course, the yearly subscriptions, they give a discount, but we have much better churn rates, of course, on that. We see how we go with that in the long run, but we are very optimistic about that.
Okay, great. And there was one very, very bold move you did, and I'm very enthusiastic about that and like to hear more about that. You actually increased your prices. When lots of publishers talk about decreasing or are not bold enough to charge a good price, you increased it. What was the thinking about that?
Yeah, we started with quite, in our eyes, quite a low price of €8 per month for a quality newspaper. We always thought in our business plans we must increase prices. And as soon as the time in our business plan came, or the milestone came, we thought, oh no, we have to increase prices now. How are we going to do that? Nobody else does increase the prices. So what we did is we made kind of we've hit two birds with one stone, I think, as you say, and we introduced the yearly subscription model and said, if you take a yearly subscription, the price increase is zero for you. You can keep your old price. And if you stay with your monthly subscriptions, you get a price increase. But if you get a price increase, that includes a lot of product improvements. So we made a better product, and we offered a possibility to keep the old price. That was very successful. First, we got a lot of people to take the yearly subscriptions. That was very successful upselling strategy, I would say. And the other thing is, we had very few complaints about the price increase because we improved the product. We found out in our polls as we talked to our readers that advertising is the most annoying piece for our readers. That's one of the, actually it was the most annoying point in our surveys for subscribers why they cancel the subscription. So we reduced advertising by 70% for subscribers, and so we did not have a large effect on cancellations. You don't even see it in the statistics. It's really very smooth. A lot of people changed to the 12 months offer, and the others obviously were happy with the product improvement. So of course there was a big discussion to use advertising by 70%. Sounds horrible, but you can calculate that. It's not that many subscribers yet that it really hurts you on one hand, and the other thing is we reduced the parts of advertising that were not so much profitable. So actually we only got a 10% less revenue, and the effect on subscriptions was huge. It was I think a good move, a good marketing idea to introduce these yearly subscriptions. What you see here is how we introduced that. We started the communication that we will increase the prices and improve the product. Then we made mailings to our current subscribers with the yearly offer, reminder mails, etc. And what you see the blue curve is the yearly subscription that went up very quickly. And even after the new pricing was introduced, as you've seen before, there were 3 offers next to each other: the monthly, the yearly, and a third offer that is not really attractive in order to move people to the yearly offer. So they're still climbing, and currently we have about 15% of yearly packages that people buy. So we are very happy with that. We try to improve that. What we also do is try to win back subscribers that have canceled with marketing automation. That works also quite well. So we turn on a lot of screws to improve our performance.
Yeah, with impressive long-term effects and results. And you said you cut the advertising by 70%, which obviously led to a lot of internal discussions, but overall that was super successful, or especially with the subscribers.
Yeah, it was very successful. We, as always, we tried that first in North Rhine-Westphalia with our pilot, and now we're going to roll it out to other newspapers as well. This churn, we hope we can reduce churn by that significantly, and we can see our first results as we do these polls why people cancel continuously. So we see that we have halved the reason why people cancel for advertising. So we halved the number of people who cancel because of annoying advertising. Some are still not happy with 30% advertising, but we cannot stop advertising it totally. We also don't think advertising is bad. We think advertising can be valuable. Local advertising is very valuable information to our users, I think. So we don't want to stop advertising at all, but we reduced it, and we are very happy with this move.
Okay, great. Stephan, what's your thinking around customer lifetime value? How do you measure it, and how do you use data to improve your offers?
Well, customer lifetime and its value are one of the most important KPIs for us, because that's how we configure our marketing spendings, where we put our money. We invest in marketing. A lot of subscribers also come through marketing, not only through editorial or through people visiting the site and doing a test. And you need to know how much value a customer has. And so we now are good enough to find out which campaign which campaign or special offer performed how, and what is the customer lifetime value of each campaign that we make. And what you can see here are 3 different campaigns. The upper one is the 3 months for €3 test campaign that has a very high customer lifetime value, because the retention is very good, the churn is very low, people stick with the offer. Second is the second best is the test for €1 for 30 days. That's also good. In the beginning, it's less good. You don't get as much subscribers as you get if you offer a €0 test, but a free test is not as viable for the long-term customer lifetime value as the €1 test, because people obviously, even if it's only €1, people get used to paying, so they also accept the prolongation of the subscription. So that's how we look at things. We look at different products and try a lot of things. We have a very, very agile team there that tries a lot of things and that is very data driven.
Yeah, and I mean, as you said, trials and campaigns play a major part in your strategy. What are the most successful acquisition strategies?
The most successful, well, we do, of course, campaigns like Black Friday and things like that. But actually, the most campaigns or actions or products are around editorial campaigns. We do some topic, and around that, like elections or Trump or whatever, local elections, Easter holiday, whatever, we find reasons to make a campaign, and that works very well. But to be honest, it's not so important the title of the campaign. You just need a reason to make a campaign. And the only thing that we agreed on is we do not too many campaigns. We don't want to make the same mistakes as we did in print, as most publishers did in print, and have an inflationary set of campaigns through the year. So people wait for the next campaign before they buy. We do very only 5 to 7 campaigns per year. That works. But after that, we also see the regular subscriptions going down. So the campaign always fishes a lot of new subscribers, but after the campaigns, you always lose a bit of regular business, I would say.
Yeah, we see.
Well, and yeah, that's the only thing. We don't do too many campaigns.
Yeah, that's something we always advise our customers to do, and we see a lot across the globe that you have to limit on the really important stuff. And I found it fascinating that actually Facebook works very well for you as a marketing channel. Huh?
Yeah, Facebook is, I guess, the Google and Facebook are the most important marketing channels, of course, but Facebook is very successful. Newsletters are also gaining importance. We have a very successful and good newsletter team, a special team that only takes care of newsletters for the whole group, and that had a huge improvement in the newsletter subscription. And the newsletter subscriptions lead to subscriptions of the title. So we work on a lot of screws, but Facebook is actually one of the most successful channels. What we do now is we invest more in e-commerce know-how, e-commerce tools, e-commerce know-how, because what we do is of course e-commerce, and there's a lot of know-how in the market, and we try to get better at this. So channel attribution models, where you put your money, look at the customer lifetime value, how much money can you invest in each channel. And there is huge differences depending on the channel. The customer lifetime value of one channel can be 3 times as high as the other channel. So of course you cannot put the same money on one subscriber on each channel.
And I mean, data is very, very important for all your decision making and analysis of the different channels you use and the marketing activities. And what does the data tell you about your content in regards to conversions and which articles perform best? Oops.
Well, of course, content is the most important thing, and that's our product. And we made huge progress with a program we call it User First. That means it's not digital first, because digital has no sense at all if the user doesn't like it. So we put the user first, which also means we put digital very, very up in front. And the editorial teams are working on transformation, and there's a team that takes care coaching the editorial teams in transformation. We also have tools we measure, as you can see here. These are that's a score model. It's an article score, exactly, where you can see the performance of each article. And so we try to find out patterns of articles that work well and others work. We don't repeat or put our effort in things that do not work well. So the editorial departments learn quickly. They have tools, they have data, and they share their experience in the group. But what is also important, we just started a semantic analysis of our articles, because of course it's easy to say, well, there's one topic, one football, soccer club that brings a lot of subscription. That's easy to see, but it's much harder to see in detail what works well. So of course, local topics work well, exclusive topics or stories work well, and service stories work well. So, but in detail, it's hard. So this semantic analysis will help us to find out in detail which topics or which keywords, whatever works well, and we can analyze that with our data team.
Okay, thanks a lot. And as we said before, we like to ask a little bit about the organization. You lead Funke Digital, Stephan, which is based in Berlin. And the editorial teams are obviously based in the regions the titles cover. What's the organizational structure and the thinking behind that? Maybe you can share a little bit more why you had this digital DACH.
Well, as I said, we are a newspaper group with 12 titles in 5 regions. And as most newspaper groups, we are organized in kind of a matrix organization. So some things are centrally organized, some things are locally organized. And of course, the heart of our business in the regions. So the editorial staff is in the regions. But there's also a central editorial staff here in Berlin that works for all the newspapers, that delivers the world and national news for all of them. So it's a kind of a mix of central and decentral. What we have centralized here is technology, SEO know-how, subscription technology, data, etc. Everything you need experts for. We have centralized, where you need real digital experts. It's easier to find them in Berlin than in Thuringia, for example. So Berlin is a good place to be for centralizing these things. but the responsibility for the profit and loss of the products is in the regions. So it's their business. We support with technology, know-how, etc. But after all, it's their business. We just agreed on this model. Of course, a matrix has advantages and disadvantages. The advantage is you have lower costs because you centralize things. The disadvantage is people who are responsible for the results cannot influence everything because it's centralized. So we always has kind of a conflict. And a really good way that we found out last year is the squad organization with NRW 150. So you have one speedboat for the whole organization. We agreed on one of the newspapers as a speedboat, and the others follow. And everyone profits from the speed in this little unit, because of course there's a bit of envy, of course, because they say everyone wants to be the speedboat, but we agree on this one, and all others profit from this organization. So that's kind of our idea of bringing both, best of both worlds together. Have a matrix organization for efficiency, but also have speed with this squad that we have.
Okay, thanks. At the moment, 20% of your subscriptions are digital. You have a target for that in the future?
Well, 20% if you take into account also the e-papers and so. But we, of course, after all, in many years, hopefully, we will have 100% digital subscriptions. But actually, that would not be enough. If you look at the New York Times, I guess they have 500% of subscriptions compared to the newspaper, or what the newspaper once was. So I think it's possible to have more than 100% digital subscriptions, and we are working on that. But it's a long way. It's not really. It could go faster. We invest a lot and we learn a lot, but after all, of course, our business will be digital.
And where do you see the future of the printed newspaper for the next, let's say, 3 to 5 years?
Well, the newspapers will have a long future. I think it's just a different product experience, and I don't think there was ever one media replacing the other totally. So we probably will have less days where the papers are published. They will have more. They will go deeper into topics. I mean, that's the whole industry knows where it goes, and of course we are also prepared that newspaper business, the print business will go down. We are very optimistic that it will take quite a long time, and we have enough time for transformation. And there will always be a place for print.
And you're gaining a lot of digital subscriptions. So I would like to end the interview part of this session with a look into the future. How do you see the general future of regional newspapers? Where will the regional newspaper business be in, say, 3 or 5 years, and what will have significantly changed?
Well, I think that local journalism has a place. There's a need for local journalism, and it makes sense to have local journalism, not only for the society, but also for your personal life. You need to know what's happening in your region. You have kids that go to school, you have work in the region, you live there, so you need information. So it makes sense. We believe in a full package also. We don't think only local information is enough. We need still a package with a view of the world and of the country, but always broken down also to the region. What does it mean for my life, where I live? So we feel very well in local business. We think it will be much longer viable also in print than the national business. I'm very happy I'm not in the national business. We are also in the national business with our magazines. With the newspapers, it will be harder and harder. The competition is much stronger. What we want to do is, of course, the infrastructure of a local news organization is quite expensive. And to finance this, we need a sustainable business model, and subscriptions are, for us, the best bet. Advertising is still very strong. As I mentioned before, we have these reach portals that are very strong in advertising, also in regional advertising. That's one part of the digital business. But for the quality newspapers, we need the subscription business, which is 11 times more. Every user is 11 times more valuable than an advertising user. So in 3 years, we will have still more insights. We have hopefully young journalists coming into the business as well. They use data and they are fully in transformation mode, I would say. And it's really, for us, it's really an annoying experience to see that young people are hard to convince about local journalism. In many regions, we have difficulties finding young people for journalism, and that's one of the challenges to make such an interesting business or sense in our business that we find young people who choose local journalism as their future.
Thanks a
We
lot,
are very
Stephan.
optimistic about that business.
I'm optimistic as well. Personally, I'm a very happy digital customer of WAZ and look into your app all the time, basically. Thanks a lot, Stephan. John, we are open to questions from the audience now. John, you're in mute?
Turn me on, that's great. Okay, am I here? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
You can, excellent, good. That was really interesting, thanks very much. I wanted to ask Stephan about, you talked about saturation. So what sort of tactics do you employ to get to the, the most unlikely subscriber?
Actually, currently we're still working on finding the most likely subscriber. That's one of the data projects we are working on currently, to make special offers to subscribers that are likely to buy our product. But of course, we are really still working on very old-fashioned things like increasing our reach. We work on SEO and all kinds of measures to get more reach for our newspapers, for our digital publications. That means we get, it's like marketing. You get a lot of test users, test readers that you have a chance to sell your publication to and get them into subscriptions. So it's really very classic, increase marketing. We also spend a lot of marketing on Facebook and other platforms to get new subscribers. But we try more to be more specific, finding out the users that are really ready to subscribe.
And you talk also about the difference in marketing investment based on LTV and lifetime value. So across your products, what's the sort of shortest LTV that you have and the longest LTV in a time frame, if you know that sort of data?
Actually, I cannot tell you the LTV in months. I could tell you in euros, but
no, I meant in time rather
than not share this
than...
information. But it's I would guess it's about, the longest is about, that we know, is about 2 years now.
Right.
Because we only started in 2018, so it's hard to say.
Okay. And in terms of the newsroom and the journalists, how much are they using the data? You talked a lot about the data, and so how has that intelligence been fed back into the editorial content?
Well, they made a huge improvements. We introduced this data platform that is very easy to use. It's based on Google Data Studio technology, which means it's very easy to handle. It's very easy to create your own dashboards for editors. And of course, we give them dashboards they can use, but they can also adapt them to their own needs. And some people really like that. They adjust their own dashboards, and if you work with it, you're starting to love it. So a lot of people are using the dashboards. We make newsletters about the results every day. They talk about KPIs every day. So it's becoming part of the life of most of the journalists. Of course, there are also journalists who are not interested in that, but we made very good experience. Actually, one of the best ideas was to share the e-paper usage statistics with the journalists, because e-paper is a good indication for making the print paper. And it's like a market research every day. And this data was so interesting also for the more traditional journalists that are not so into digital journalism. They are were very interested how their print publication was used yesterday. So we gave them that information in a daily newsletter, and they started to getting used to using data, and they got more interested and got more and more into using this information. So it's a process, but it's of course led by the editors-in-chief. They have a huge task to get people acquainted to data. We also give more decentralized resources to the editorial departments now, that they have a chance to have their own analysts in the newsroom. That's our plan, to give more resources in the decentralized editorial department.
A question to both of you, which is probably quite a difficult one to answer, but the first part of that question is, what advice would you give to regional publishers that are not as advanced as you? And I suppose the second part, what I'm really asking is, you know, if you started your process again from 2018, what would you do differently? What have you learned from that process?
Well, I think the best idea was to start with a copy. We went to Scandinavia, took everything we learned, and tried to reproduce it. And from that start, so take the best you can find, copy everything he does, and from that start improving. I mean, there's the starting setup. You can cut the way so much. You can save 1 or 2 years if you take the best role model and copy it. And then you can start improving, and there's no other way than improving than having this squad team that I mentioned. I think I would recommend every publisher to have a squad of editorial technologists, analysts, and salespeople. In this squad, you learn very quickly, you learn every day, improve every day. That's how I would do it. What I would do differently is, well, of course, I think in the beginning, we didn't have such a good data platform. Of course, the data platform is important for everything. So the first thing is probably start with a good data platform and get your insights. That's very important. I think we underestimated that in the beginning.
And Clemens, what would you advise? Same sort of question. What would you advise to a smaller publisher that's maybe, or maybe not smaller, but someone that's less advanced in their subscriptions journey?
It would be quite similar actually to Stephan. My advice would be not to overthink it and to start very quickly, to set up a very clean and well-defined model. And I think to learn from the best or to copy something is a very, very, very good idea. But basically to start to test them and acquire data and improve from there. So I think that
Okay.
the main, or let's say the main problem we see is that people don't really start a digital business. So they try to do it perfect from the start, which is not possible. So let's set up something clean in, I don't know, 2-3 months time, something like that, and learn data, learn from there and test a lot.
Yeah, just get on with it and start something.
Yeah.
Guys, I'm really conscious of time because we're getting very tight, nearly out. So I'm going to go to some questions from the audience, if that's okay. So how successful has Piano Frictionless been, and how will it develop in the future?
I mean, Frictionless is basically, we're always improving the software, and one thing we're improving is that with Frictionless, you can basically, with one click, acquire a purchase, a subscription or a day pass or something like that. We're rolling it out with a couple of customers at the moment, and it's in an open beta test. And first results have been super encouraging, especially for quick purchases of younger people, and especially for things that usually are acquired on a glimpse, on an idea, like a day pass or something like this. So first results, I mean, I don't have the exact numbers now, we have to ask internally, but first results have been super, super, super encouraging. And in general, anything that makes checkout, registration, and purchasing more easy is a great means towards improvising or improving your digital subscriptions.
Okay. Next, so I'm going to rattle through these if I can, because I want to try and cover as many as I can in the next 3 minutes. One of Piano's key products is based around personalization. How far do you think personalization will develop in the next few years? And I guess the whole cookie issue is going to have quite a big impact on that.
Yeah, I think personalization is maybe the key issue or the key driver in the development over the last years, and that was basically why we acquired CSense and the data management platform last year. And especially with the demise of the third-party cookie, I think what we call zero-party data. So I mean the data that is freely given by the customer to the publisher becomes more and more important, especially then in combination with behavioral data and contextual data.
Sure. Next is how do you use technology to segment subscribers to ensure more precise targeting of offers and communication? That's a big question. We probably haven't got time for you to answer that. But...
That's one for Stephan, huh?
Yeah, well, we're just starting. We made some experience with Piano now that has its own data platform, and the good thing about that is it's very well integrated, or will be very well integrated with Piano. So you build your segments and you can use it instantly to create offers to the users. And so this link between the data management platform and the subscription platform is very important. And we are working with that. we did some trials so far, but we don't have many experiences yet.
Mm.
Okay, guys, I'm really sorry, but I'm afraid we are literally out of time. That's perfectly put together in the hour allotted. My screen is telling me that we're going to go. That we've got about a minute left, so I'll do my goodbyes now. Thank you so much for joining us. Both Clemens and Stephan. That's a really fascinating talk. We could talk for hours about this subject, one of the most important aspects for any media company at the moment. So I'd really like to thank you for that. And if anybody wants to get hold of either of you, you can come to info@fipp.com or john@fipp.com or contact either of these guys directly. We'll make sure that their contact details are in the chat box. And I'd like to thank you once again very much. Just for the audience, we have a 15-minute break, so you've got time to go and have a cup of tea. And then we'll be coming back with, and I'm again pronunciation king today, Sunny Huang, who is the newsletter editor of The Economist UK. So we'll see you at 10:45. Thanks very much again, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Cheers. Bye-bye.